Thank you very much for this opportunity. It's a schus to be here. Hopefully share some words of chizik for the times we're in right before Erev Tisha B'Av, Shabbos Chazon. So right before I came here, I was tucking my children into bed. And those are usually the best places, the best times to glean from, to use those as springboards to practical chizik. And as I was tucking my son in, my 3-year-old son, there was a balloon. Baruch Hashem, we were blessed with a baby a month and a half ago. Thank you, B'chtia. And there was one of the balloons that lingered from the happy birthday, get better soon. And my son likes those balloons, and he was hanging on to it till now, for a month and a half later. And every night before he goes to bed, yes, bring it down until he's back on the ceiling, and we bring it down, and he brings it upstairs, and it's a whole routine. Tonight, I saw him playing with the balloon, and he brought it to his crib, and he tried putting it into his crib. And I saw he was very hesitant to let go of the balloon. And he tried holding it down, and he eased off, and the balloon had helium, obviously, and it kept on rising. And he just took the balloon out. And I said, Eliezer, I said, why didn't you let go of the balloon? So just put it down in the crib. And he said, obviously, not for a 3-year-old, but what did he say? He said, because it's going to go to the ceiling. He said, it's so interesting. Maybe the kid is trying to put it down, but intrinsically, because it has helium, it automatically goes up. And I think that is what we should all be feeling right now, right before Tisha B'Av. Sometimes we can associate Tisha B'Av with negativity, with being forsaken, with being lost, abandoned by HaKadosh Baruch Hu. But even at these times, Hashem never wants us to forget that we're intrinsically pure. We have ruchnistic helium pumped into each and every one of us. And no matter how hard and how forceful the Yitzhak Hara, the Umas Ha'olam, Hamas, the Nisayanis come out against us, Mamlechas Kahana V'Goy Kodesh, Hashem tells us, don't forget, you're innately pure, you're filled with Torah, you're filled with Ruchnis, you're filled with Chilek Alekam Imal, and when you feel that you're about to hit the dust, you're about to pop, you rise right back up. Hashem never puts us down, Hashem never lays us to rest. Even in times of Churban, even in times of destruction, in times of pain and tragedy, HaKadosh Baruch Hu is looking down on us and He's saying, you think you're going to go down? You think that the world is laughing at you? Politics, rockets, Hamas, October 7th, tragedies. You think I'm going to let go of you? We're just like that balloon that the kid tries to put down, but it just fights back innately, intrinsically, naturally. That's just the Metzias. And Hashem says, that's just the Metzias. You're mine, you're holy, you're pure, and you're never going to go down. Shabbos Chazon. We're about to go into Parshas Devarim, which always coincides with Shabbos Chazon. And the Kedushas lady asks, why is Shabbos Chazon? Chazon Yishayahu ben Amos. What was that prophecy? What was that nevuah? There was a nevuah of tragedy, of calamity, that was going to befall on Klal Yisrael. So why do we call this Shabbos, the Shabbos that's supposed to inspire us? It's supposed to try to ignite growth and chizik. Why is that Shabbos called Shabbos Chazon? We should call it something else, but not Chazon because of the nevuah, the foresight they had of the tragedy, of the calamities that's going to befall on Klal Yisrael. Call it something else. And says the Kedushas Levi, or maybe the Kedushas Levi over here, he says that the reason why we call Shabbos Chazon is because Chazon has another type, it has another meaning. Chazon means vision. Objectively, Chazon, Chaziyah, means a vision, means a path, it means a reality check. And as we go into Tisha B'Av, we have Shabbos Chazon to recheck, to recalibrate, to realize, yes, there was destruction, to realize, yes, we're missing something, we're bereft of the Shekhinah, of HaKadosh Baruch Hu's proximity, but at the same time, it's a springboard, it's a time for action, it's a time of Chazon, to see what we're really all about, to check back in. We all have helium within us. We all have chelak alakamimal, Hashem's neshama, the neshama bekirbi, that always is going to keep us lifted, keep us afloat. And Chazon Yishayo, yes, it was calamity, but there's also a vision. Even when we're feeling depressed and down and negative and we're at loss, but we also have to check back in with the vision where we're meant to be, where we're meant to go, even during this time of the year. So the obvious question that we ask, that we're thinking about consciously, subconsciously, is how could it be? How can we actually accomplish? How can we actually change? How can we actually do things that are meaningful for the Binyan Beis HaMikdash? The famous question, if all the Tanoim, the Amoraim, the Rishonim, the Achronim, they couldn't Poyolais, the Yeshua, they couldn't Reb Shaila and Reb Nachman and all the Heilige Tzaddikim of yesteryear, they couldn't, the Chafetz Chaim, Reb Kiva Eger, the Chassam Sofer, go through. And we, what are we going to do? What can we do? We seem so small, a fraction, a nothing in compared to these Gedolim, to these people that lived, these Neshamas in the past. How is it possible that we can even make a dent into the Binyan Beis HaMikdash? And the answer, says Reb Shimshon Pincus, someone once posed this question to Reb Shimshon Pincus, and he answered that yes, it's true. The Bekiyas, the Talmud Chacham, the Hasmada that the previous Gedolim Tzaddikim had, we don't have it these days. But his words were, they were never tempted with the Nisayan of walking down Ben Yehuda. And that's something that we're all confronted with probably multiple times on a daily basis. And it's a chizik for all of us that whatever Nisayan it is that we're dealing with, the previous generations did not have that Nisayan. They didn't have to contend with that. And the kamos, the concentrated potential that we have is something they didn't have access to. And every time there's a Nisayan, should I look? Should I not look? Should I do chesed? All these Nisayanis, we're so far away from the source, which makes every choice of doing right over wrong so much greater, coveted in Hashem's eyes, so much more beloved. And that is how, says Reb Shimshon Pincus, how we can make a dent, how we can actually implement true change, and how we can actually build bricks for the Beis HaMikdash. I want to share with you an incredible story. I just heard this from Rabbi Chaim Waxman, mind-boggling. There was a big askin, a well-to-do askin from Eretz Yisrael. And he had to go to Europe, to Schweiz, to Switzerland, to oversee an operation for a young boy who was deathly ill. He flies over to Switzerland with the family, he makes sure everything's okay, gets him into the hospital. And after his job was done, he had a hotel. He went back to his hotel, checked in, was going to relax a little bit. It was a heavy trip and dealing with all the paperwork and the legal stuff in his family. They didn't know how to speak, they didn't know English, they didn't know anything. So he was there for them, and he finally was excited to go back to his hotel, relax for a few minutes, get a good night's sleep, and he was going to go a couple days later. He walks into the hotel, and he meets this other couple from Eretz Yisrael. Not familiar, didn't know them, didn't know their name. And he says, "Oh, nice to meet you. My name is Moshe Schwartz from Eretz Yisrael, and I'm here on this mission to help this family." He said, "Oh, very nice." A little chit chat. He goes back to his room, goes upstairs. This meeting, this encounter has happened at, let's say, 6 p.m. Moshe goes back up to his room in the hotel, and hours later, he needed to come back to the lobby to get a tea. Comes back 5-6 hours later. It's already 11, 12 in the morning. And he's perplexed. He sees this couple with their daughter still drinking zach in the lobby. And he went back and he said, "Are you the same people that I saw 6 hours ago?" And they said, "Yeah." He said, what are you doing here? You're sitting in a hotel lobby. What? Are you okay? And they said, "Well, truthfully, we're from Eretz Yisrael. We don't have any money. And we Pasha can't afford another night in the hotel. So we figured we already were here for one night, a couple nights, and we can't afford another one, but we're leaving tomorrow morning, so we're just going to drazach on the couches over here, and when our taxi comes in the morning, we're going to leave, but we have our bags ready to go." And this asking, Moshe Schwartz, looks at this couple with their daughter, and he said, "Are you crazy? You think I'm going to let you sit here for the next 5-6 hours alone?" He said, "Come to my room." He took them, welcomed them into his room, and he had food and drinks, and he sat and fabrang with them, danced and was mechazik them. 6:30, 7 o'clock, the father gets a notification, a call, the taxi's here. They part ways. Tzeis l'shalom. Months later, this askin goes back to Eretz Yisrael. The family goes back to Eretz Yisrael. This sick child gets better, goes back. And this askin gets a letter in the mail. And it says, "Dear Mechutin, I'm looking forward to seeing you at the Chasana." So he opens up the letter. He says, "Dear Mechutin, I didn't marry off any of my kids." He opens it up, he looks at the invitation. He has no idea who this invitation is from. Definitely no Mechutin. He thinks it's just an epic mistake. Someone must have made. A day later, he gets a call. "Shalom, is that Moshe?" He says, "Yeah, who is this?" He says, "You remember me? I was the Yid that you bumped into in the lobby in Switzerland." And he says, "Oh, Shalom Aleichem, of course I remember you." He says, "I just sent you an invitation to your chasana." And he said, "Are you okay? You're well?" He said, "Let me explain to you." He said, "I didn't tell you why I was in that lobby. I told you that I was waiting for my taxi, but there was a backstory." He said, "Let me hear." He said, "What happened?" He said, "I was in Schweiz, I was in Switzerland, because my daughter, who you saw in the lobby, I was with my wife and my daughter. My daughter was dating a guy. My daughter went off the derech and wanted absolutely nothing to do with myself, with my wife, with the rest of the family, to the point she was dating this guy and ready to get married. And all she wanted was for us to bring her some money to get the chasana ready, make a few preparations, bring her some last minute possessions she forgot. But after that, saying goodbye to us, Tzeis l'shalom, nice knowing you for the 20 whatever years, going on with this guy living in Switzerland and falling off the map." So what happened was, you didn't even know, but you came over, you asked us our name, you asked us what you're doing over here, you showed you cared. You don't understand the impression, the indelible impression that you had on my daughter. For a week we were Zach in Switzerland and nobody asked us, "How you doing? What are you here for? You're an Israeli couple with a daughter, what's going on?" You were the first one. Ad kidei kach, to the point that we got on the plane and my daughter said, "Mommy, Tati, if this is what an Erlich Yid is, I may have been tainted, I may have gotten beaten up over the past few years, but I'm signing back up." On the plane, my daughter broke off the shidduch with this guy, came back with us to Eretz Yisrael, resubscribed, and a few months later, right now, she became a kala to a ben Torah, and she's ready to commit her life back to Torah mitzvahs. And that is why I wrote on this letter, "Dear Mechutin," because without you, there is no chance I would ever have this opportunity. My daughter would never have Jewish Jarashow Kayama of Yidden, B'nai Torah, Jews. And it's all in your schus. And I'm forever indebted to you, and I want you at this chasna. You are the Mechutin. The moral of the story, there's hundreds. But one is for sure. We cannot underestimate the power of a Havas Chinam. And like that person asked Rav Shishon Pincus, what can we do these days? How can we bring the Beis Mikdash if Rav Akiva Eiger didn't bring it? If the Rashbi didn't bring it? The answer is, One kind word. One overcoming. With the Yetzer Hara, we don't know. We can't underscore its value, its potency, its power. It can do anything. But we cannot belittle those moments, a kind word, a kind gesture, showing another person we care, and especially in this time of year, Havas Chinam. But if we work, exercise the Havas Chinam within each and every one of us, especially in the shul, it's Mamish Davar B'itay Mativ, BET, bringing everyone together. But for ourselves, not just as a shul, but as individuals, our close network, Kiruv Kroivim, our family, friends, our wives, our children, our neighbors, working on that and realizing that every small thing is registered and processed and meaningful by HaKadosh Baruch Hu. With that, realigning back with Shabbos Chazon, as the Kedushas Levi tells us. Looking at the vision, looking where we're supposed to be, and remembering that we all have Ruchnis Diki Helium. Hashem never puts us down. And even in times where we're going to sit on the floor and cry and say, Eicha, Yashva Levadad. We're going to say what happened, Oilanu, Nafla Taras Shenu, and all these, we're set Ovid, we're a forlorn nation, we have no leader, no manig. We're full of the helium, we're full of fire, we're full of tzilim of the Kimimal. We can do anything, we can rebuild the base of Mikdash, because Hashem put us, we're the door that's going to bring Him. And if we rise to the occasion, we realize the chashivas of everything we do, the chashivas of every small action, there's no such thing. We erase that from our vocabulary, from our vernacular, and realize that HaKadosh Baruch Hu is there, HaKadosh Baruch Hu cares, and He's waiting for us with open arms. In turn, with our collective actions, with our collective mitzvahs, and especially Havas Chinam during this time, that HaKadosh Baruch Hu in turn alleviate us from our pain, from our foes, from our sorrow, with the arrival of the Bayis Shlishi, the Binyan Beis HaMikdash, and Mashiach Tzidkenu right now. B'meir v'minu, Amen.